Good Wednesday morning, everybody. I'm Dave Furtado.
And I'm meteorologist Jefferson Donovan.
And welcome to Keep Her Quick, your latest local news and weather commercial free in about 18 minutes or less. We're going to jump right over to weather because Jefferson has been a lot of copy and paste situations over the last couple of days or so. But heading into tomorrow, there might be some changes, right?
Yeah, maybe some changes with some stronger wind coming as we do head into Thursday. But otherwise, today, at least as we focus on just this Wednesday, it is going to be a copy and paste type of day. Temperatures might be a smidge warmer today as opposed to yesterday, but still seasonally warm, and also looking at hazy sunshine on this Wednesday. As we go into Thursday, we will continue to see seasonally warm temperatures and hazy sunshine, but the difference on Thursday will be that critical fire danger as stronger winds do sweep across the forecast area. Fire weather watches are posted around parts of our viewing area, and then next week is trending more fall-like. We'll talk more about all three of these weather headlines in more depth coming up.
Thanks, Jefferson. We begin this morning in the Tri-Cities. A man is recovering in the hospital after a shooting Monday night in Kennewick. According to KPD, it happened on 4th Avenue west of Olympia Street just after 8 p.m. Officers haven't released any information about the circumstances leading up to the shooting, but they did say there is no danger to the public. So far, no suspects have been arrested, and officers are following up on potential leads. The man who was shot is expected to survive. In Wapato, there's new details on an investigation into a hit and run after a man laying in the road was hit and killed, the driver taking off. It happened just before 8 Monday night in the 500 block of West 1st Street in Wapato, just west of North Natchez Avenue. State troopers say 58-year-old Angelo Rivero was lying on the road when a 17-year-old driver ran over him. Rivero died at the scene. Wapato police say the driver and the people inside the car at the time of the accident were found. No one else was injured, and that charges against the 17-year-old are pending. If you witnessed this crash, you're asked to contact the Washington State Patrol. A Mabton woman is waiting to find out what her punishment will be after admitting to stealing a dog and then killing it by stomping it to death. 37-year-old Regina Marie Palomarez pled guilty to first-degree animal cruelty charges last week. Yakima County Sheriff's deputies were called to the 800 block of Vance Road, where a man told them Palomarez stole the dog off his property, killed the dog, and then left its body at the Mabton Cemetery. In another case in 2024, Palomarez's mother got a no-contact order against her daughter, which required her to stay at least 1,000 feet away. The mother said her daughter was a threat to her 3 children. And a Washington State trooper is scheduled to appear in court later today in Benton County, accused of causing a drunk driving crash that killed a man in Richland earlier this year. While the trooper is expected to plead not guilty to vehicular homicide during the hearing, we spoke with a criminal law expert from the University of Washington to get an idea on the possibility that the trooper could spend time in jail while waiting for her trial.
There will probably be bail allowed in this case, in which case then the person either can post bail via cash, and what exactly amount, that kind of might affect how feasible that is. And that's something that's not unheard of in many of these cases. And a lot of that happens because of the fact that the defendant in the case is a police officer.
Now, today's court hearing comes nearly 7 months after 20-year-old Joser Sanchez was killed in a collision involving the trooper near Parkway Village. She was off duty at the time. We'll be streaming the trooper's court hearing live on our Keep Her YouTube channel. And Washington Secretary of State Steve Hobbs is pushing back against a federal request for voter data. Earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Justice asked for all data from the state's voter registration list. But in a letter sent to the DOJ yesterday, Hobbs says his office will only provide information already public under state law, like names, addresses, birth year, and voting history. He says they will not provide sensitive data, such as driver's license and social security numbers, citing federal privacy laws. Hobbs' letter comes just under a week after the Washington Secretary of State was in the Tri-Cities to discuss election security and mail-in voting. An Oregon labor movement group is endorsing a boycott against Windmill Farms mushrooms. The Oregon American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations says this movement is in support of United Farm Workers members in Sunnyside who have been demanding for a union from Windmill Farms mushrooms for the past 3 years due to what they say is poor working conditions. The Oregon AFL-CIO will be endorsing this movement by protesting and rallying outside stores that sell the farm's products to educate people on the issue.
There's an inextricable link between the struggles for economic, racial, and immigrant justice. And we think that anytime a group of workers, and especially marginalized workers who take a brave stand like this to form a union because they want a voice at the table and be able to bargain with their employer for fair wages and better working conditions, anytime that is pursued and sought by a group of workers, that the employer has a legal duty and obligation to respect that.
Now, September 6th is when the Oregon AFL-CIO voted on the decision to endorse the boycott. They are in the process of planning their next protest. Now, this is a developing story, and we'll continue to update you as we learn more. And we're following up on a report yesterday. Food store Mercado Los Amigos on Fruitvale Boulevard is working with the Yakima Health District on a solution after the store was linked to 3 E. coli cases. KIMA's Aiden Connor spoke with the health district and shares tips on how to avoid exposure to the bacteria, as well as updating us on the future of the store's investigation.
E. coli is present in many situations. There are ways to avoid exposure and illness, particularly when working with meat and produce.
So E. coli is a bacteria that's present pretty much at all times around the food systems that we have. However, the ways that people can prevent from getting sick from E. coli include making sure that you're washing your fruits and vegetables thoroughly, that you're cooking your meat to the appropriate temperatures. That's why those temperatures are recommended, is to kill any bacteria and viruses that may harm you and cause illness. In addition to that, making sure that you prepare your vegetables, fruits, and meat separately. That way you don't cross-contaminate any of the illness that may be present in any of those items.
The health district relies on both stores and food distribution companies to follow safety measures.
When you're purchasing items from a store, we're relying on the stores themselves and these companies to be following the proper safety precautions. Occasionally, there may be a bad source of food that's coming in, or either the meats are already contaminated or the cheese may be contaminated. At this point in time, we're not able to identify the source quite yet, but that's why the store was advised to close their fresh produce and their meat counter while we did that investigation.
The environmental health team is responsible for conducting the proper testing to find the source of the issue.
What happens is the team goes in, they take some of the samples, they send them to the lab to see what out of everything is contaminated to better identify the source. They provide education, again, on how to ensure proper food safety by preventing cross-contamination. And then at that point, the team will go in again just to make sure that some of the recommendations that were provided are implemented, and that when they see that those have been implemented, then the store gets the green light to go ahead and open up.
As the investigation into Mercado Los Amigos continues, their future and date of reopening is still up in the air. Reporting for Action News, I'm Aiden Connor.
KIMA's Aiden Connor, thank you. And the health district advises anyone who's purchased meat or produce products from the store to contact your healthcare provider. They also advise those who have eaten meat from the store anytime before September 10th to not worry, as symptoms and dangers of E. coli would have already passed. And with that, let's jump right over to meteorologist Jefferson Donovan. Jefferson, since September 10th, temperatures have kind of been slowly working their way down towards that autumn-like pattern. Highs for today, though, still looking like end of summer temps.
Yeah, definitely still above average for today, about 10 degrees above average at that. Now, what I will caution is as we jump into the high temperatures for today is that I believe the model that compiles this map is going just a little bit too warm for daytime highs today, but still in the general range. In the Tri-Cities, I would say mid-80s seem appropriate on this Wednesday. Anticipate highs into the mid-80s for the Yakima Valley today. Mid-80s this afternoon coming for the Kittitas Valley, with daytime highs, I would say, in the mid-80s for the Blue Mountain foothills. Everybody today will see hazy sunshine overhead, much like we did observe yesterday. Now, speaking more to those haze and smoke concerns, you can see that as we do look at this Wednesday afternoon, plenty of haze and smoke will still be hanging tough over the inland northwest. Now, as we go into tomorrow, we are going to have a surge of wind, maybe pushing some of the haze and smoke out of our general region. But the problem with wind is that it could do a couple of things. A, it could fan the flames of already existing wildfires, and B, if a new fire were to start tomorrow, that fire could spread rather quickly because of those stronger winds. And of course, if there are any new large wildfires, that will put just more haze and smoke into our air. So that's something that we will track very closely on Thursday. There is an air quality alert in place until further notice for all areas in this gray color. That does include Kittitas County and Yakima County. So if you do live in one of these two areas, especially if you suffer from any terrible respiratory illnesses, you might want to limit time outdoors until the air quality does start to improve. I can say that this morning, most of us were waking up to moderate air quality, and I believe moderate air quality is likely for the next couple of days. Now let's take a look at that wind forecast I was referencing for today. We are going to observe light wind around the forecast area. It is as we go into tomorrow, though, that those winds are going to start to increase, only gusting up to 25 miles per hour or so for the Tri-Cities and Walla Walla. In Yakima tomorrow, we could see gusts up to 30 miles per hour with similar magnitude winds in Pendleton. And then in the Kittitas Valley for Ellensburg, we could see winds gusting all the way to 40 miles per hour. Now, I referenced that fire danger earlier. In fact, fire weather watches have been posted for all areas in this tan color from 1 p.m. until 11 p.m. on Thursday. We always need to practice that fire safety, but especially on a day like tomorrow when winds are going to turn gusty and we are continuing to be subject to dry weather conditions. So please practice that fire safety on Thursday. Now, another thing that's going to happen as those winds do kick up, that's because of a dry cold front. So we're going to see quite the cool down as we go into Friday. Thursday will widely feature temperatures in the low to mid 80s, although the Kittitas Valley will be much cooler tomorrow. And then as we go into Friday, check this out. Everybody will be looking at temperatures in the 70s. Now, one more note I would like to make. Let's take a look at the Storm Tracker Futurecast. Nothing to discuss early in the period, but as we get towards the start of next week on Monday, it does look like, or I should say confidence is increasing, that we could be looking at widespread rain showers around the forecast area early next week, with more shower potential as we go into Tuesday. That's a situation we will continue to track over the next couple of days, but right now I'm going to toss it back over to Dave.
Thanks, Jefferson. The Sunnyside City Council is moving forward with a new development in the city's north end. Monday night, they held a closed record hearing and approved the Fairview Heights plat. KMA's Anissa Williams tells us more about it.
The proposed plat is a 17-lot subdivision of approximately 3.51 acres in the R2 zoning district. The plat process underwent a lengthy public process, which included public comment, and there was an open record public hearing. At the end of the public hearing, the commission deliberated and recommended approval of the plat subject to conditions.
16 of the lots are planned for single-family homes, while one larger lot may be used for a multi-family building in the future. But Councilmember Vicky Frausto raised questions about affordability, asking whether the homes would be market rate or more affordable.
That'd be more of a question for the applicant to respond to. So assuming that the plat is approved, the applicant would then have 5 years to complete all of the improvements. And then once those lots get created, then the applicant would come back in for those building permits in the future. So it would be dependent on what their plan is as far as the price points.
City leaders emphasized infrastructure and safety concerns, especially around street access, pointing to past issues with getting emergency vehicles through.
The recommendation includes a number of conditions of approval related to, as I mentioned, things like extending required utilities, streets. There was some changes that are required to be made as far as the turnaround and access and things like that. So the timeline would be the applicant would have 5 years to revise those plans, bring everything in for review by the city prior to that initial infrastructure construction. Then the lots get created from there.
Also Monday, Council hired Monica Hofstetter as the city's new finance director following the dismissal of former finance director Kelly Koski.
I think it is a wise idea for the city to occasionally look over the contracts and update them and make sure that they are in keeping with either the times or things that we have learned. And I think this is a good improvement to the contract, and I also think it's a good contract, and I also believe that Ms. Hofstetter has been a good addition to our staff.
Reporting for Action News, I'm Anissa Williams.
KMA's Anissa Williams, thank you. Leaders with the Port of Kennewick say soil testing at Vista Field shows almost no contamination from PFAS, also known as forever chemicals. The new testing comes after property owner found low PFAS levels near a utility trench back in June, halting ongoing development and property sales. Additional sampling was conducted by Landau Associates, who believe the PFAS chemicals aren't spreading, adding the original tests weren't up to date.
Those samples weren't collected with all of the quality control elements that are required to really have defendable data. We did not find any evidence of migration of PFAS. In fact, our lowest samples were non-detect. The laboratory did not identify any chemicals below, including the area where that initial sample was collected.
Now, only one of the 47 samples taken from Vista Field showed elevated levels of PFAS, which is found in items like nonstick cookware, firefighting foam, and de-icer. A full report is due this autumn to the State Department of Ecology. Now, if approved, Vista Field development is expected to stay on track. Earlier this month, the Ellensburg City Council gave over $1 million for a housing development near their downtown area. The project is a collaboration between Hope Source, the City of Ellensburg, and Kittitas County, and has a mission statement of providing lower-income neighbors with the opportunity of experiencing the downtown lifestyle. KMA's John Franklin tells us more.
Your authorization would allow Hope Source to acquire 4 duplexes for a total of 8 nearly complete housing units and manage them as affordable properties for households earning no more than 60% of area median income for the next 25 years.
Addison Place Apartments, located on the corner of West Washington Street and Pearl Street in Ellensburg, will have 6 studio and 2 one-bedroom apartments. The housing units will be for people who make less than 60% of the area median income and must be a senior citizen, a veteran, have a disability, be homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, or a domestic violence survivor.
We have a number of projects going on right now. We have 3 projects in the county. This is the first one getting done, and this is providing for a population that's a little higher than the other 2 projects where we're going for 30 and 50%. This goes up to 60% AMI.
The city will contribute $1.2 million, and the county will give $250,000, and the money will stay local. It's a forgivable loan, meaning that Hope Source can pay back $48,000 annually for the next 25 years, but it can be forgiven based on the contract.
It's nice to have something that's up and at a lower cost than some of these tax credit projects. This is kind of a standard that I really like because we're using local money, providing for local people, and we're not sending big dollars out of the state.
According to the contract, Hope Source must also report resident eligibility, development financials, and changes to the management plan. After learning the necessary information, the council voted on the item.
Further, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Bill.
For Action News, I'm John Franklin.
KMA's John Franklin, thank you. And Addison Place Apartments should be completed by the end of autumn. And finally, a new production facility is under construction at Whitman Winery in Zilla with a planned opening date in December. Owner Scott Whitman says they grow their own grapes and that the new facility is next to the vineyard, which will increase their overall production and efficiency.
The big benefits is we control the process from beginning to end, so we're managing the vineyard to produce the very best fruit that we can to produce the best wine.
Now, Whitman says they broke ground on the new production facility toward the end of August. He says the building will have improved sanitation, which will provide a more comfortable environment for workers. And that does it for us. Thank you for watching this episode of Keeper Quick. For more local news and weather, you can head over to our websites. That's KIMATV.com, as well as our Facebook pages. But while you're here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with our latest mini newscasts Monday through Friday. Have a whimsical Wednesday, everybody.